Hi everybody, I'm Hema Mani, the Regional Director of Human Resources at Lennox India Technology Center. I certainly believe in AI and ML. I certainly believe that we should automate wherever we find opportunities to save time, cost, and build efficiency. We should invest in it. But I'm also a firm believer that you can't take the human being out of the organization, because at the end of the day, organization is a set of intellectual minds, and not all these minds match 100% of the time across the organization.
Hi, I'm Udit Saxena. I'm a global CXO leadership coach. I've been a CXO. I've worked in 5 countries over the last 30 years, and I've impacted 10,000 lives across the world. My students have come from the US, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause for Mudit Saxena. Mudit Saxena is the founder of CXO Hive, an award-winning global CXO coach, specializes in executive coaching and leadership development. Trained by John Matone and experienced across 5 countries, he guides leaders and organizations to achieve exceptional results. Let's put our hands together for Mudit.
I'm accepting this award for every transformed client award.
Hi, are you a leader who's looking to get promoted, find a new job, or maybe get a meaningful salary increase in an environment that's so uncertain with layoffs, with AI coming in? One really doesn't know what's happening. I have something special for you. I'm going to be getting the Global CXO Accelerator Summit to India for the second time in a succession. This is a 7-day event, 5 days online and 2 days live, right here in Bengaluru on February 21st and 22nd of 2026. So mark your calendar and make sure you register for the event. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining in and making the time to be here. And as you're here, I'm so happy to have Hema here, our guest for the day today. So Hema, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you, Mudit, for having me here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And as we get started, let's just ask Hema. Hema, tell us a little bit about your career, your graph. You know, you've been a CHRO and now you're here in Bangalore. Tell us a little bit.
So, Mudit, well, these days I've been labeling myself, I'm a Bengaluru Hudgi. I grew up here in Bangalore for the big part of my life, and also started my formative careers were here in organizations such as PwC, Honeywell. I was also an educator with Jain Group of Institutions. So I've done both consulting as well as practice, and as well as teaching. And the last 15 years has been the most interesting phase of my life. And I got an opportunity to be one of the founding members of a US based DCC, which I helped set up in Chennai. This was in the space of climate control solutions. And I loved that stint of 15 years, just being the first amongst all the team members setting it up. And it was a role that went beyond just being HR. It was a role of managing the site operations, involving with government affairs, and setting the whole company up in Chennai. Huge learning experience. I brought it to a stage of stability over the last couple of years, and that's when the mind started thinking, hey, I want to do something more, I want to learn something more. And I had this wonderful opportunity come up with Bosch now, where I'm heading the global OD learning and culture and leadership development for the company. So that's in brief my stint. I've enjoyed every bit of it of the last 28 plus years.
Superb. Thank you so much, Hema. We're so privileged to have you here with us here today. And, the community is looking forward to hearing from you. And one of the first things I'd really like to ask you is, it's very uncertain times, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there have been a lot of layoffs, there's AI coming in, a lot of people don't know which way the world is going in. So, first thing I'd like to ask you is, what is it that you think employees can do to make sure they're not part of that layoff list?
Yeah.
First, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's about us to accept the kind of world we are all living in with it, right? For the last few years, in several forums and conferences, we've all always been speaking about VUCA. We've always been speaking about how volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous the environment has been. Well, it's actually even turned even more brittle with the combination of global politics in play, the wars in play, the diffuse tension on rare minerals in play, industries going through upheavals, industries going through significant shifts because of AI coming into play. I think we are living in one of the most defining times of our lives. I think every generations goes through one defining moment, and I think here we are at the cusp of another one, which will probably change the trajectory of how our lives will be looking in the nearest future. And what this does bring in is a high state of anxiety, a high state of stress. And absolutely, as a human resources professional, I recognize that anxiety, I recognize that tension, among all of us. And it's not that I am bulletproof in this kind of a scenario. All of us are going through it. But I think personally, and I'm just going to share it from a personal context with it, what am I doing to make myself secure or make myself more bulletproof in this kind of environment is really shifting my learning curve. And when I say that, the last couple of years with Lennox, when I was there, the kind of stability I experienced bringing the company in, personally, I realized I wasn't learning anything new. And I knew there is this wave of AI coming in, and I knew there is a technology disruption coming in. And I really wanted to push the needle. And that's one of the predominant reasons why I took up a newer assignment, which just pushes me on a learning curve. So I think learning and unlearning are both very key constructs of today's employees, because everything is shifting moment to moment. The second aspect is to just stay resilient, right? There are shifts happening within the organization for all of us as employees within the organization or entrepreneurs, even to just recognize these shifts and stay resilient, stay there and be consistent in what we are doing and delivering. And on a day to day basis, make sure we're delivering to our commitments, right? The second aspect of it. The third aspect of it is to have a sense of courage to take that shift. Many of us have a certain style of working, certain responsibilities that we've often led, and we feel that that's enough or that is sufficient. But I think time has now come when we need to uh, ask ourselves whether this is sufficient, and then do that, do that trampoline act of putting ourselves in the next gear or the next shift. And that requires a lot of personal courage, but it's a combination of learning, staying resilient, and courage, and it's a cycle in itself. That's how I see, for all of us who are in today's industry or today's business world. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Hema. I think that's some great insights there that you brought in. What I'd now like to ask is, let's just assume, because if I've seen or I've met a lot of people who are having these layoffs, right, who are part of it. So tell me, what is it you think they can do now that they've got laid off, right?
Mhm.
What do you think are the next steps people should take to get back into employment? And, some of it may take a little time, right? So
Yeah.
what do they need to do?
Um, First come first is an act of self-reflection. This pause button that unfortunately a lot among us are facing should serve as a pause button, should serve as a self-reflection. What and answer the question is, what could I have done better? What can I do better from here on? What's really my future trajectory of the career that I would like to take? Mudit, if I can step back, a lot of us in our generation grew in our jobs with a lot of influence on societal conditioning as well. We all wanted to get into jobs, get those promotions, get those titles, get those positions of power. And for us, that was a sense of achievement. But today we are seeing an industry which is collapsing these structures. I'm sure you are experiencing it, and I'm sure many people in the audience are experiencing it. Organizations are today moving to more flatter systems, flatter hierarchies. They want ease of access, ease of decision making, which means you're literally compressing the middle management, literally compressing the structures within the organizations. This is going against the way we've all been brought up. We've all been brought up saying, if you want achievement, it is about, just moving in hierarchy, taking those positions of power, having those titles. And I think this pause button that some of us may be experiencing should be used as, do I want the title and the position, or do I want to experience a great job, which is really up to my level of interest? Right. And possibly even here, let me take a personal example. As you know, I had a position of power in my previous stint. I clearly took up this new experience in Bosch simply because it's really very well aligned to my liking. Organization development, leadership development, learning is really what I really want to be doing more and more. And therefore that switch was easier. So this pause button should be a very huge self-reflection zone where we answer very tough questions as to, beyond organizational structure, power, position, and titles, what is it that I really want to be doing? And where can I play a key role in the organization? Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So what you're suggesting is do a bit of self-reflection. Where do you truly want to be,
Yeah.
and where you're going to be able to make that impact before you get back, right?
Yep. And then there's umpteen plethora of learning programs. We are inundated with learning programs all around us, whether it is courses, e-courses, whether it is classroom sessions, whether it is, moments like these, the podcasts like these, or the conferences that you plan to host. All these serve as new knowledge grounds. And once you self-reflect, then you go behind that path and gain that expertise and come back into the industry. Yeah.
Super, superb. So at this point, we'll just take a quick 1 minute break and we'll be right back. So I'm going to suggest the team to just play our next video and then we'll get back. Yeah.
Sure.
Are you a leader who's looking for a promotion, a salary increase, or even a better job? And you're working really hard, right? You invest in certifications. You've really trying to upgrade yourself. But I think you know that maybe your career hasn't done as well as you wanted it to be. Maybe some of your colleagues are a little ahead of you. Well, don't worry. That's why I've got the Global CXO Accelerator Summit here to India on February 21st and 22nd. Actually, it's a 7-day event, 5 days online and 2 days live in Bangalore. Why is this event special for you? Simply because I'm getting CXOs from the US, from Silicon Valley, from Washington, DC. We've got CEOs of many Indian companies here who are going to come and share secrets of what helped them succeed. We've got a special GCC section where leaders from the global capability centers are going to tell you what's required in that high growth area in India. And above all, I've got HR leaders here also. So we're going to go beyond just resumes and interviews, but what is it that they look for when they want high quality talent? What is it that they need when they do their talent planning? Interested? Click on the link below and I'll see you on February 21st and 22nd in Bangalore. Click, book your tickets now before they disappear. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to encourage the team to put the links in, and all of you who are watching here to actually sign up for the event, and hope to see you all soon in person, right? So let's get going. Hema, now that you talked about how things in the past were, like you walk the stairs, right, at every level, and unfortunately, those stairs don't exist anymore, right? And, so senior leaders, you'll always have somebody who's younger, who knows almost like 60, 70% of what you know and is much cheaper.
Yep.
So what's the new reality, right? How do senior leaders, keep themselves, especially in the mid-career, because a lot of our audience is on the way to the C-suite, right? So how do they stay relevant when you said that this middle layer is getting compressed?
I think to stay relevant is to be in the relevance, right? If I can use that word. To stay relevant is to know and be aware of what is happening today in the industry. Unfortunately, I'm sure you too have experienced, and I certainly have. A lot of us who have attained a certain level in that ladder somewhere have taken it for granted that this is here to stay, and therefore the learning is shrunk. They perhaps have over delegated a lot of things that they should have continued to lead on and continue to possess, and therefore see that it almost feels rudderless at certain levels. And therefore to stay relevant is to be relevant, to be in the present, be very aware of the situations around us, be very aware of where the industry we are part of, where is that evolving, where is that growing, or where is that navigating itself, to be very aware of where are the technologies that is surrounding us, what is that doing, how is it disrupting the way we work, what are the latest things that is happening there, to be very aware of the changing dynamics of people that are entering workplaces. We are seeing a much more bolder, more assertive workforce entering workplaces. It's not like in what we experienced when we all came into workplaces. We were more obedient and more just listening oriented. But today, the kind of workforce that's coming into workplace, and it's a good thing to happen, is that they're very outspoken. They're very candid. There's a lot of candor. There's a lot of deep belief that they have within themselves and the quest for achieving their purpose. These are very complicated dynamics that we're all encountering. So, to be relevant is to appreciate what is happening around us. First is to appreciate that these are changes, and these are changes I must accept, and therefore I must change. I must take a concerted effort to change. And people like you can help in that change. There are coaches who can be of help. There are networking bodies that can be of help. There are events that are surrounding us that can help to make us stay relevant. So that's how I'm seeing it. It's all about being in the present, acknowledging the present, and learning to be part of the present.
Super, super. So, you brought in this thing about being relevant and being very much tuned towards coming in. How do you see, irrespective of, whichever field they're in, I just see AI coming in and in every single sphere, and I think perhaps today not knowing how to use AI in your area of work would really be a limitation. It's not just meant for the techies to sort of do LLM models and that kind of thing, right? So what is your advice to mid-career leaders and all leaders today in terms of embracing AI and what they need to do?
It's like early 80s when we discovered the computers, the CD drives at our workplaces, Lotus Notes, and the first Fox Pros and Excel sheets, etc. How did we embrace it? It ultimately it came to be a huge productivity enabler for all of us. It helped ease our work. As we look back into the past, it helped us refine our work, and that is how I see AI, Mudit. I don't see it as a human versus AI. I don't see it like that. I see it as very complementary to what we are doing. I am person who is very excited that it can ease my work. It can do a lot of things which are very mundane and appears it just takes away a lot of my time. I like Copilot a lot. I use a lot of Copilot. Use a lot of ChatGPT. I've only seen that it just eases a lot of my work and enables me to move upwards on an upwards trajectory to do more complex things, to think more, to have more human connections, which is so important in my space, to look at human behaviors, to study human psychology, which are all really the true components of what I do in my workspace. So I'm pretty glad, and I almost request everybody to just embrace it and adapt it. If you have not done it already, you're probably a little late. You should just go ahead and embrace it. Just go ahead and try it out, and you'll see how it really eases up a lot of your work and makes things much more faster and easier for yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Hema, on that. One of the things that a lot of mid-career leaders don't know is how does HR, when you are doing your evaluation, right? Because at every stage, corporates are pyramids, right? So there are only that many people who are going to get to the next level, right? From an HR perspective, what would you tell leaders to sort of look for, or what is it that you look for so that they can equip themselves? Because very often a lot of them feel, look, I'm delivering results, I'm meeting my goals, why am I not getting to beyond, let's say, senior manager to that director role, or one level higher, right? What is stopping? So what do you have to say to them, both from
Mm.
evaluation as well as what they need to prepare for?
Having been in this profession for very long, having been part of discussions within rooms, within boardrooms around how we promote people, how we enable people to move forward, there are two aspects, Mudit, that any organization would look for. Good professional run organizations, I mean. One is, of course, today's performance. But more important than is the individual having the future potential to grow? So performance is very objective. It's very easy. It's seen, it's observed, and the individual also understands and is able to arrive at where he or she is performing. But potential is often an unknown window to the individual. Some many people are aware of it. Some don't put a definition around it. Potential is the individual demonstrating the skills for future. If the organization intends to elevate that individual to the next level, will the individual succeed? Does the individual demonstrate knowledge, skills, and capabilities to perform that role? More importantly, does the individual, especially if it's a leadership elevation from one level to another, does the individual demonstrate great amount of emotional intelligence to take on those higher elevated leadership roles? Now, these are conversations that happen, and how an individual is then pegged on. Okay, here the individual is ready now, ready in a couple of years, ready at a long range plan. And then there are development programs put together in very professionally run organizations. Right. So, this is how movements happen within an organization. Now, this apart, what is happening in terms of evaluation, the individual also has to invest in quite a few things. I'm doing today's job well. That's good for me. But am I also preparing for the future roles that is staring ahead of me? Am I putting myself through developmental programs that takes me on to the next level? Am I getting connected to the right level of mentors within the organization? Do I know who my sponsors are within the organization? Do I know who my advocates are within the organization? Who will speak for me? Which means I have to consistently keep doing my work very well so that I develop more sponsors and more advocates within the organization. So there are a lot of aspects to it. And then there's also this huge aspect that somehow people believe that if I'm good at my work, the organization will take care of me, or the organization, it's the organization's responsibility to take care of me. Well, it's absolutely wrong. You're doing your work well, but it is also important for you to make sure you're portraying your work. And I don't mean about uncharacteristically exhibiting yourself, but it is about just making sure your work, the impact is known. The impact of your work is known. It's not just doing your work, but is the impact of your work getting to be known by the organization, getting to be known by the environment around you. And that's also equally important. How are you projecting yourself? Right. And more importantly, if you are considering yourself to grow in a leadership track, are you demonstrating the right balance of both intelligence quotient as well as emotional quotient? Right. Of course, these days we also speak about a certain element of spiritual quotient, which is even more important given the kind of times we're all going through and the kind of resilience all of us are required to exhibit. But that is even more important, right? So these are different things that gets discussed about an individual as people consider them for future growth.
Super. I think, that was, I hope everyone's listening here because, many of them are probably not even aware, right, that how these things are being looked at. So I think that's great. And put some things very well in terms of actually saying that, uh, you know, get yourself noticed and being heard, right? So let's come to this concept of executive branding, right? Within
Mhm.
what should people be doing, right? Both within the organization and out of the organization to get noticed and make a name for themselves.
These are things that we keep learning through our lives, right? But we keep experimenting. But some basic things that we should not deny ourselves of opportunities within the organization is all of us some get invited to meetings. All of us get at some point, right, to present our work or to participate in a decision making process. How many of us use that opportunity to speak up? How many of us use that opportunity to sit at the right place around the table so that the right people are interacting with us, engaging with us, and we're getting attention from the right kind of people? It starts from there. It's a basic thing. We all get invited to town halls, for example, where executives make visits in companies, and there are these company forums where you can actually interact with senior leaders. How many of us use that as an opportunity to really prepare, plan, and ask a good intelligent question? And this is about making presence. This is about, this is where those subtle branding, the initial parts of branding happens. The other external formats of branding is being part of smaller networking or groups. It could be in our own functional areas. HR, of course, has a wide array of networking forums. I'm sure every function has a networking forum. Being part of those networking forum, and not just being a member. Can I play an active role in that networking forum? Can I lend myself? Can I put in time? Can I commit time to building that forum or contributing to that forum? These are all efforts where you're actually building your presence. You're building your presence, your capabilities to people around you. There's a sense of people turning back and saying, hey, who is this who's actually made this impact, or who's asking this question, or who's contributing to this? And that's where you start building your persona or building your brand presence. And more importantly, it is for each of us to personally reflect, what is the kind of brand I want to create, right? What kind of professional do I want to be known as? What kind of content should people reach out to me? I, for one, I want to be known as somebody who develops and coaches organization cultures and forms leaders. So all my efforts in building my persona is driving in that direction. So there has to be a certain goal on what kind of persona you want to build, what kind of brand you want to build, and you consistently keep building it. And then, of course, today with social media around, there is a wide array of things that you can do over LinkedIn, where you're positioning yourself. Unfortunately, I'm not a great fan of chat GPT messages that keep coming on LinkedIn of late, because your originality then gets diminished. People are not able to see the original you. So try to put yourself authentically out there. You don't need to wear a mask. It gets easily demolished, it gets easily deconstructed. But try to put your authenticity out there. Try to be as true to yourself when you are in spaces where you're invited to speak, or invited to write, or invited to present. But a wide array of options today. There's so much that you can do today to build a brand persona.
Super. Thanks. I mean, Hima, I think that's a lot for everybody to sort of chew on. And as they reflect, we'll just take a minute's break and be back here again. Yep. So, are you a mid-career professional who's working hard, but you know what? Growth seems a little uncertain, right? At this stage, you don't want uncertainty. You want clarity. And you know why you need clarity? Because you can actually move faster. What if I brought you 700 years of leadership experience in 7 days? Yes, I'm getting the Global CXO Accelerator Summit here to Bangalore on February 21st and 22nd. This is India's premier event on career and leadership. And you know what? You can hear live from the stories of global CXOs from Silicon Valley, from Washington. You can learn from Indian CEOs. You can learn from leaders in GCCs. You can learn from HR leaders. What actually helped them get there? If you want to learn all that, click on the link below. February 21st, 22nd in Bangalore. I want to see you there live. I am Udit Saxena. I'm a global CXO leadership coach. I've had thousands of leaders like you get those results, and I can help you too. I know what you need, and you need this event. February 21st, 22nd, Bangalore. I'll see you there soon. Great. So, coming back, I think the audience has had some time to reflect on what are they doing in terms of building their, executive brand, right? And one other thing that I think most people are perhaps not aware, right? So when organizations look at talent, right? I mean, GE had a model, right? The grid in terms of, like you talked about, performance and potential. What are the other, evolving techniques that you that you use within organizations when you sort of look at talent and say, okay, there are X number of people at this level, and I think these are the few people that need to get ahead. What do you think is maybe just share for everybody who perhaps doesn't have a window into that?
Yeah. So we are living in a country, Mudit, where succession pipelining, leadership pipelining was part of a very age-old, tradition. You read into age-old, the stories of kings and, the mythologies. It was very rooted in us. And something, therefore, that was very natural for us to see who is in succession to each role. The few things that are happening in the industry, there are developmental competency assessment centers that are set up, where groups of people who the organization believes can be taken on to the next level are brought in. It's a full blown intervention where people are exposed to case studies, people are exposed to a bunch of assignments which they have to present, and the outcome of that is a set of people who are ready for the next role. So there are DCs, there are, competency developmental centers, CDCs, as we popularly call it, that many organizations do. Now again, when I put all this out, the perspective should be a professionally run organization, an organization that believes in building professional leadership capability. And if I look at the Indian business homes, the Indian Marwadi system has been very popular for building succession pipeline. They bring in people really young into the business world and keep, shadowing them. There is a lot of shadow work that people are pulled into, and that's how they're cultivated. That's how they're developed. You see this in organizations too, where senior leaders take in mentees under them and get them to work on shadow levels. These days, the latest thing is chief of staff. I see a lot of startups advertising for chief of staff roles. These are all succession pipeline building roles. These are all various interventions that organizations are building to build future pipeline. And if you can be part of those, then you can tell yourself there is an opportunity for me. It's how best I use that opportunity and come out of it successfully. um, there is a concept in certain organizations where they do reverse mentoring, which means they take a young person, get them to reverse mentor a very senior leader. But in some way it's also an opportunity for that young individual to demonstrate their capability and potential, and therefore have an opportunity at it, right? So there are different ways in which organizations spot potential and hence keep growing potential. It's really for all of us to just look for these opportunities and put ourselves to, and put our best there, and evolve and come out through those, right? So that's how I would say. There are many interventions though.
Super, great. So I think they've got a window into some of the interventions that are there. And here's something more that I want to examine, right? We see a lot of organizations preferring younger talent, okay? And age does sometimes, go against you. So if you typically ask, when I ask a lot of people, right, to introduce themselves, they all proudly end up saying, I have 20 years of experience or I have 25 years of experience. But today, where does experience now, it's a strength till a point, and then it starts becoming, a bit of baggage. So if you were to advise people, right, what should they be really focusing on rather than just years of experience in the new corporate world?
I think in some way we have discussed this, Mudit. Wisdom is important, right? You and I know that wisdom is absolutely important, and wisdom comes with a certain timeline of experience, right? What does wisdom do? Wisdom has a baggage of experiences, good, bad, and ugly. And wisdom is also something that we keep refining. It's intelligence that turns into wisdom through failures, through successes, through experiences. So wisdom is absolutely important. You can't deny and that, and can't discount that. The question is, when does wisdom become stale? I think that's what is your question. Wisdom becomes stale when, as an individual, I have stopped learning. I'm still living in my 30s or 40s knowledge. I have stopped picking up new tools, new technologies, new ways of doing things. That's when wisdom becomes stale, and that's what is the most dangerous thing for me. Wisdom as such is not wrong. There is a lot of power in having great wisdom. It's just that staleness of wisdom is what we need to prevent for ourselves.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
leave it at that because there's a lot to self-reflect there and a lot to take on from there.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Especially the point where I think we discussed a bit of this was even on relevance, right? If you have a certain amount of wisdom, but it's not relevant anymore, or you've not built upon the newer skills that are required,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're living in an era where things have moved on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just moving with times. I've seen so many people with baggage of huge experiences, but they're still so contemporary. They're still so relevant. Their knowledge, and for them, that knowledge is even more refined because they have that baggage of experience.
Hmm.
And you want to be in that space, but that takes a lot of hard work. It's like a Michelangelo culling away the statue. You have to keep constantly chiseling at yourself, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So well brought out, Hema, So thanks for that. I think, and just a little thing for the audience, please. We'll take all our questions at the end, like we normally do. So just hold on with your questions and we'll give you a chance to ask Hema and, get enlightened very soon. But till then, let's continue. So, Hema, there's one more thing, right? Where, I was just leading to. There are a lot of people who feel that, once they're past 50, their time is, sort of limited, or they're not getting, or some organizations, when they look at candidates, will say, okay, let's take someone a little hungrier at 45 rather than somebody who's 50 plus, Are you seeing these kind of trends, and I know there's a big difference between very mature organizations who value the kind of wisdom, etc., vis-a-vis, younger organizations and so many startups, right? So there are many different parameters, I understand, but just something that you can address for people.
Yes, I do see it, Mudit. And why do I see it? One is we are living in times when organizations are encountering a lot of cost pressure. And therefore, organizations are looking at younger talent because at some level, you're getting them at a lower cost. Now, this is a tactical part of the whole thing. But the more important part is, I think organizations are looking at how do I create a runway for people, runway of leaders in within the organization, and therefore there is the tendency of I need people who have a longer runway than somebody who has a shorter runway. Unfortunately, we are also, as a country, a very ageism driven country. Given the way our labor laws are set up, there is that retirement age and all of that. Unlike in the West, where you can work until you're well, right? Yeah. So that is also coming in the way for organizations. So organizations are typically looking at, oh, can I get candidates who have a much larger runway? And therefore you keep encountering, can I look for CXOs who are in the age group of 40 to 45 or so and so that they have a longer runway. There's a learning curve and then there's a performing curve, and this is the system that has been set in, right? And it's something that we just have to embrace and handle with. But do I see very senior leaders taking positions of power? I do. The percentage is very low though, but I do see that.
So I think it's also a function of the kind of organization that you're in.
Yeah, it is a function of the kind of organization you are. So
So
young, you're a cosmetic brand, you're a brand that caters to millennials. You really want younger talent there because they are the ones who understand the psyche of that consumer that they are trying to cater to, right? So you're just being relevant to the industry you're operating, right?
absolutely, absolutely. I think very well said over there. So let's take one more, area in terms of now. Let's say, for example, you're hiring somebody in today's day and age, right? And they're all mid-career leaders, and let's assume that they all have a similar level of knowledge.
Mhm.
Because today, anybody can do a certification. I'm PM certified, I'm data certified, I'm cloud certified, I'm Azure. Now, assume, right? So certifications no longer are going to be the discriminating factor. Now, when you as a CHRO look at, a mid-career leader and you're looking, for beyond for the organization, what do you look for when you talk to candidates?
The impact they're creating with it. I think you very rightly put it. We have gone past this age of going and shopping for certificates because it's become very easy. It's become very accessible. Anybody can go in, get an online certification, be there, done that. And we see it. Yeah, we see it on LinkedIn, so many people gathering certificates. But what is that knowledge doing at workplace? Is it getting converted into an actionable, impactful initiative by the individual? If the individual is able to take that knowledge, convert that into an impactful solution within the organization, problem solve more impactfully because of that knowledge gained or that certificate, then that individual gains more value within the organization. But just gathering certificates doesn't help us, because we've seen many of that. Sometimes I also say, when people go for conferences, people go for n number of conferences, but what is happening after they attend those conferences and come back to work? What element of that learning are they putting back into work and creating an impactful story at work, creating an improvement at work? Maybe it's productivity, maybe it's efficiency, maybe it's a new way of looking at things. But unless you convert what you learn onto ground, it's like I can witness a lot of master chef programs, but unless I make a great meal, what's the use of watching all those shows, right? It's akin to that. It's just akin to that.
Super, super. I think that's a great insight. And, as people chew on that, we'll take a quick short break and be back in a
Yeah.
minute. Hey, with that, we're back. And, let's just take on, Hema, another, a topic which sometimes people read about, but they're not aware, right? So when you say that whatever got you here to this mid-career level is not going to get you to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
What do you feel mid-career leaders really need to learn? Because it's like you said, learning, unlearning, right? So a certain amount of IQ and performance would have got them to where they are, and now they're getting ready for that mid to senior and even executive level. So, what is it for you when you hear something like that, or what's your advice to mid-career leaders?
Mm. So it's like Earth's gravity and atmosphere gets rarefied as we go above, right? Above a certain stratosphere, it gets lighter, it gets more subtler. I almost feel organizational structures are like that. The more higher you want to go, you should be prepared for more abstractness. Things become more unclear, decisions become more grayer than the black and white, and then a lot of things are left unsaid, and it's for you to look into that rarefied air, make meaning out of it, and keep navigating yourself upwards, right? And people who do that very successfully are people who are very intuitive, are people who use their wisdom to take decisions, and sometimes it's decision without having all the data in front of you, and you just take the decision, keep moving on. These are people who are okay to take risks, because not all decisions can succeed as well. You may take decisions because you really are predicting, you really are navigating that subsphere and that rarefied air, and kind of navigating your way. These are some qualities that I see we have to possess if we want to be in that space. It's a lot of risk taking. It's a lot of intuition driven decision making. It's a lot about relationship management as well, because you are taking risks, and therefore you need people who can back you up and who can be around you when you need them. It's about understanding the organizational dynamics and the organizational politics, if you will, and just kind of learning to navigate, because it's going to be there whether you like it or not. It's going to be there, and you just have to learn to be savvy enough to navigate that with your own skills. And the other element is, if you're just continuously honing on today's work and today's position, it's going to be mighty challenging to get yourself there, because you just have to learn to delegate. You just have to learn to let go, build pipeline, build your team, just making sure somebody can do the work that you're doing today for you to even aspire to be in that rarefied zone. So these are some things that occur to me. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and it's so true, right? For a lot of people here, who have got here because of either technical knowledge or performance, and
Yeah.
like to this is, we have a large tech community, as part of very much like Bangalore and very much like my community too. And I find that a lot of them, do very well in rounds which call for technical competence. So, do you know how to do your job? All of that. And then they suddenly come
Yeah.
to the HR head, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly they're saying, "Oh, now we have to meet the CHRO. How do I prepare, for her? Because she's not going to ask me anything about, whether I know coding, PMP, or I know data or anything. She's got nothing to do with all that, right?" So, two things. One is, is there any preparation that mid-career leaders can do to deal with CHROs who have more wisdom? And two, what is it that you truly test, right? Far beyond, if you're on a panel, right? What do you truly test to see? And maybe you might want to even sort of look at, if you want, I'm just leaving it to you, because answers that, let's say somebody with 15 years of experience may be very different from the kind of things that you test when somebody is at, getting onto a CXO level. So let's look at both a mid-career leader and a senior leader, whichever way you want to do it. But
for mid-career leaders as well as senior leaders, I'll take the common denominators first. Common denominators is, how is this individual appearing from an emotional intelligence quotient, and we'll break that up a bit. Does this individual culturally align with the way our organization is set up? Is this individual somebody whom the organization will respect for his or her knowledge? Is this individual somebody the organization is willing to work along with? Because you remember, as a mid-career leader, your impact is because of people who are around you and who are working for you and with you, right? So it's really about compatibility. It's really about, therefore it's also about communication. How well is the individual presenting himself or herself? How well is the individual building that connect during that short 1 hour meeting or so with me? How is that relationship seeming at that point? Because that is what the individual will bring to work. That's how the individual will present himself or herself at work. It's also about questioning what are some failures the individual has experienced. Because out of those failures come some lessons, some experiences. And I'm more keen to understand those experiences. It's not about knowing the failures, but knowing those experiences. How has a person handled successes? How is and as the seniority goes, if I'm hiring to somebody at an executive level, it's about how did the person let go his previous role to come in becoming an executive? How did the person build pipeline? How did the person mentor people? How did the person build advocacy for his team members? Right? So these are all conversations, and it's also about knowing the individual at a personal level. So I spend a lot of my time just understanding the individual at a personal level. What are their aspirations, and not at a tactical level, more about understanding, are we setting them up for success when they join the organization? That's important for me, because as much as we are interviewing the individual is also assessing the organization. So it's a two-way street for me. And therefore, understanding that compatibility ratio, whether the individual will succeed in an organization like ours, because HR is primed up to be in a position where we understand the culture of the organization, and you want to make sure that the individual is therefore successful when they come into the organization. So these are some things, and I like to spend more than one meeting with senior leaders. I like to meet them a couple of times, informally, formally, just to get a sense of their authenticity, which is very, very important. How authentic are they? And people could have shades of black, white, and gray. That's completely okay. All of us, I mean, uh, if you didn't have a shade of gray, then you're not authentic, actually. Right? So we are all a bundle of that, right? We're all a bundle of mistakes all along our life. And if you're not willing to come forward and share those, then you're not authentic to me. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, there are a lot of new methods, rather than traditional interviewing that a lot of companies are now taking up, and a lot of it has to do culturally also. So, one of our cohorts who's here went to Apple for an interview.
Mhm.
They just said, okay, here's the problem, and here's a notice board, and work on the problem, and we've left it with you, and we'll come back in an hour's time, and then you can take us through
All
what
solved.
right, what your thinking is, what have you done that, right? So a lot of new innovative ways. So Hema, would you like to share for a lot of people, what are different ways, rather than just traditional interviews, that a lot of mid-career leaders and a lot of companies are now doing, right, to sort of look, because after a point, right, everybody, they a lot of people can fake interviews because it's a dating, right? You're at your best for that 1 hour,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What is there behind? So just over to you. What is your take on subject?
Well, unfortunately, this is one space where we haven't invented too much, Mudit. And of course, these days a lot of AI-based interviews and all of that happen. But I haven't really come across a foolproof, bulletproof method of selection as yet. It's a combination, it's still a lot of combination of things. I have experienced, especially in senior levels, as I mentioned in the earlier part, I like meeting them multiple times along with multiple panels and just sitting as an observer, because then you look for coherence. You look for coherence of how the person presented himself or herself through those multitude levels of discussions. I look for how the person is engaging and building their persona through those multiple rounds of interviews. I like mixing it up between formal and informal. I like to walk them around the campus, show them around the facility, just observe how they are reacting to a variety of things. I like sometimes to even give them a certain problem statement which we in the organization are currently facing, and see if they can come back with a solution. Give them some time to prepare some material, come back and share it with us. I'm a big proponent of having multiple people meeting that same individual, because you get different perspectives, because an individual is a complex creature. We're all like that. We're all complex, and it's almost literally figuring out this big giant elephant through different lenses, and I like doing that and trying to kind of you know s- see the right candidature or the right kind of people. I know there are organizations which put people on case studies and give them case studies and expect them to come. There are organizations which expect people to come and make a presentation. There are different techniques, but nothing is foolproof, because human beings, as you rightly said, we all know how to fake it till we make it, right? And it's just about just about evolving ourselves. And as an organization, what do we want out of the individual? Yeah.
So absolutely well said, Hema. And when I go back, into my career, and there have been times across in different countries where you're put through an assessment center, and besides the assessment center, you're also, different people meet you, right? So you'll meet somebody for breakfast, you'll meet somebody for lunch, you'll meet somebody for tea, somebody will take you out for dinner. And but I understand that that happens, at probably levels, at various levels, because there's so much at stake, and go so that you get that different perspective. Is that I'm just trying to understand that at the mid-career as well as this, are there, is this concept of assessment centers or an equivalent coming in? I know, like you said, there's a lot of AI coming in, etc. But do you see, something more formal, or are people just, for speed, just getting through and doing things which?
Maybe they are there, Mudit, and I'm not aware. Personally, I haven't witnessed anything new out there so far. No, I don't think I have a good answer for you on that.
Okay, no worries, no worries. So we'll come back. And on this note, we're going to get into our next section where we will now take questions from the audience. But before we do that, we'll just take a short break so we get back. Hi, are you a leader who's looking to get promoted, find a new job, or maybe get a meaningful salary increase in an environment that's so uncertain with layoffs, with AI coming in? One really doesn't know what's happening. I have something special for you. I'm going to be getting the Global CXO Accelerator Summit to India for the second time in a succession. This is a 7-day event, 5 days online and 2 days live, right here in Bengaluru on February 21st and 22nd of 2026. So mark your calendar and make sure you register for the event. Hi. Okay, so what I'm going to request is, now I saw a few questions. I'm going to request, Manager, don't put your hand up, just put your question in the chat, right? And yeah, so we've got the first, just put your question in the chat, Manager. Yeah, I'll pick them up from there because there are many and I will choose the most relevant. And the first one comes from Rakesh, where he says, you spent almost 16 years at Lennox in different leadership roles. What made you stay and what kept the journey exciting for so long? And how can someone plan long-term growth in one org? So a couple of questions there. Yeah.
Yeah, Rakesh, all those 16 years felt like roughly 10 different jobs that I did. So every few years, I got something different to do. Although it was in the larger, grander umbrella of HR, I still kept doing a lot more interesting stuff. It was also a phase when the company was growing a lot. There's a lot of acceptance of me as a leader. There was a lot of acceptance to the kind of projects I brought on the table, the kind of work that I did. So there was some inherent recognition coming all along the way, a lot of respect that came along the way, and that kept me going. The company also gave me enough room and space to do things outside of the company for the community I was belonging to. I was part of the CII team. So all that gave me different sense of recognition, and I continued to stay there. Your second part of the question, how can someone play long term growth? It's about just looking for opportunities as you keep growing in the organization. If you were stranded in the same role, doing the same thing for 16 years, not something I would prescribe. But if you're getting different things to do within the organization, trying to experiment different roles, different elements of the organization, then that is something you should look for. I hope I answered that, Rakesh.
Yes, yes. Let's take the next one from Ravi, which says, Ravi is asking in terms of, what capabilities do you see most leaders struggling to unlearn as they move from senior leadership to CXO roles?
That's a very interesting question. What do you see most leaders struggling to unlearn? It's really they struggle to let go. They really struggle to let go their current level of responsibilities. They struggle to identify people who can take their current position, to make themselves disposable, you know, and therefore indicate to the organization that they're willing to move to the next level. That's what they struggle. Many of them struggle to let go. Many of them try to preserve what they have because they think it's a sense of security. So that's what they do.
Okay. So this is, I think Manoj has asked a more transactional question, which is how can we ensure high CTC throughout the career, irrespective of markets and
Doesn't happen. I mean, it can if you're a high impactful player in the organization. It's like IPL, right? Who gets the highest, money bag? It is the players who bring in great impact, and money follows impact, I guess. So if you are somebody who's just after money, just make sure you're a high impact player.
Okay. And with that comes the risk also, right? I mean,
Yeah, with that comes the risk, and you have to be ready to take that risk.
take that risk. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, okay, good. Raj is asking when a person is chosen who has demonstrated skills to move up and gets promoted, what are those areas most of them still lack, which still needs a development program?
Usually, I have seen, and this is largely for people in tech space, they get to a point of relevance because of their technology depth. But at some point, when they move towards leadership, there are two things that happen. Some of them just continue on the tech depth and don't focus on building people leadership capabilities, emotional intelligence capabilities. They fail to do that. Some people, they develop so much of people and EI capabilities that they let go their technical learning. They become pure play administrative leaders. In both these cases, that's a danger sign for me. We have to have a fine balance where, irrespective of what levels we are in the organization, can we still be wisdom owners? Can we still be intelligence owners? Can we, or rather, the word is content owners. Can we still be content rich? You can't let go of content rich just because you have an hour team and you stop learning. You start over delegating so much of content that you become pure play administrative leaders. And with the way the structures of organizations are evolving, organizations do not actually need administrative leaders because it can be taken care of by having a small layer of leadership at the top.
Okay, great. So let's take Jay Chandra's question here. For an R&D leader aspiring to become a GCC leader, what are the key skills one should consider upskilling?
When you say R&D leader, I'm assuming you're saying I'm deep in content, right? I'm deep in tech development. What is a GCC leader? Yeah, there are different kinds of GCC leaders you see in the space. There are some GCC leaders who are like the orchestrator. You know, they are the ones who build relationships with the mothership. They bring in, they're very good in transitioning roles out. They're very good in influencing across the broader organization, making sure the competencies are aggregated and brought into the GCC. That's one type of GCC head. The other type of GCC head that I've seen are, they're very again technologically, they're core in one space. They're almost very super intelligent, super content rich. You know, that's the word I have in my mind, for the lack of other words. And they then build a second layer of leadership team who bring in the work into the GCC. But the key skills for GCC is the ability to manage and navigate the companies from where the work is coming, and the ability to influence, the ability to negotiate, the ability to aggregate and bring together the work into the country. So those are some key skills that are required for a GCC leader.
Yes, and Jai Chandra, don't miss the conference. Okay, we have a whole list of GCC leaders there who are going to be discussing a lot of things. So a lot more answers there for you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. And Marutish has a very relevant question too. How should leaders position themselves during role transitions or organize? Basically, I think the question here is asking is, let's say, if, for example, you get laid off and now you're looking for another role, right? And maybe there's some uncomfortable questions as to, what
Yeah.
happened, right? How do you, I think, deal with that, and how should they sort of conduct themselves? I'm reading more into this, but
Yeah, I'm reading this statement. How should leaders position themselves during role transitions? I think we addressed it at the very beginning. It's about using this pause very wisely, using this as a stopover before your next leap, trying to self-reflect as to how you want to navigate your career further. What is it that you truly want out of your career at this point, and go after it, because everything is important in today's world. There's no one role which is less important than another. So that is how I would say it. And in one word to answer you, it is to be very resilient at this space, not get into a spiral where you feel, that spiral of negative spiral. Avoid that at all possibilities. Go and find a mentor at this point who can help you just stay positive and just stay self-compassionate towards yourself. Very, very important at this stage of transition so that you can navigate yourself to the future.
yeah. So Hiral wants to know any tools that could help self-reflect and identify any key area. Like she feels that she wants to move from, I think, CX to OD and sustainability and innovation. How
Wow.
should she do that?
All right. Self-reflect. Any tools that could help? There are plethora of tools, plethora of OD tools out there to even understand your own persona and what are your strengths. There's something called Strength Finder. There are other tools like MBTI. There is a DISC profiling tool. There's a Thomas profiling tool. There's a FireOB. These are all OD tools, right? But I guess if I could just go deeper into your question, Hiral, it's about understanding your own Johari window, right? What is your things that you know for yourself? What are your strengths? But a lot of it is all within us. If you can just pause and self reflect, journaling helps a great deal. Um, I'm a big fan of meditation. It's something that I'm hooked on to for many years now. It's just built so much of self awareness that you get to a space where this is what you want out of life, and these are things that you're good at, these are not what you're good at, and you accept that irrespective of what the society thinks of you. And that acceptance is very key. Once you're confident and you're accepting that, a lot of things become easy for you.
Okay. Um, so just 1 minute. Yeah, sorry, I seem to have gone off for a while. Here's a question from Gargi who's saying, how, in HR, she's saying, how is it like some of us, young Gargi always has a question. How do HR professionals like us get selected for C-suite roles? Because we are already very few in any organization.
Don't give up. Don't give up. At some point, all of us were young, right, Gargi? And you just make sure you're doing the right things to keep yourself future ready and future proofed. Some of the things I did was continuously be part of HR networks, continuously know what is happening in my space, continuously making sure I'm doing the right things for the organization, because people speak, whether we like it or not, whether we are in HR or in a leadership role, we all live in a glass house. And people keep seeing us through different lenses. People keep remarking about us. People keep having feedback about us. People keep perceiving about us. So quite important that you if you are very passionate about HR, you do the right things and you stay passionate. You demonstrate your passion through the profession you're choosing, and these roles will come by. I don't see there are a few C-suite roles. There are so many. There's so many startups, getting funded left, right, and center everywhere. It's just about being there, staying committed to your profession, staying committed to your passion, be there in the right networking circles, being seen in the right forums. And sometimes these roles will just open out and you will have your own sunshine. Of course, there's a little bit of luck. I'm not denying that. But keeping that aside, I'm just talking about the controllables.
Okay, fine. So great. We'll take a few more if it's okay with you, Hema.
Sure,
Uh,
sure, sure. I can take a few more. Yeah.
okay, so let's just take Kalyan's question. He's saying, how do you build sponsors within and outside your organization, right? Some specific actions to build that sponsor network.
Uh, how do I build sponsor network within the organization is sometimes I look for role models within the organization and actually reach out to them and say, hey, can you be my mentor? Can I get some help? Because I really am inspired by the kind of work you do, by the kind of probably leadership you demonstrate, and I want to learn from you. I've had sponsors who have been a CFO, and I took that mentoring opportunity only because I wanted to learn a little more about finance. I wanted to know how the organization, the function works, and the numbers. How do the numbers work? So I took up mentoring from a CFO. I took mentoring from a business leader because I needed to understand how the business functions. And I can tell you this for sure, no leader who's very genuine wants to say no to a person who wants to take mentoring from them. Very rarely. I have not come across yet any leader telling me, no, I can't mentor this person, or I can't, um, help this person. Very rarely. And those, if there are people like that, then they're not leaders. But I can tell you for sure, leaders are somebody who like to give and who like to mentor people. Go look out for them. Go look out for those role models within the organization. Externally, there are again, forums like these. There are people that you admire. Maybe on LinkedIn you see somebody, you like what they're doing, the body of work that they're doing, you feel you want to stay connected with them. And I have quite a few, people reach me out for specific things. You meet them sometimes in conferences. You just walk up to them and say, hey, that what you spoke was very inspiring, and I'd like to stay in touch. I'd like to learn more from you. And that's how it happens. And I've done both external. I've taken in external mentoring. There is this chairman of a large company whom I reach out to quite regularly, saying I'm very inspired by the work that he does, so I want to be mentored by him. So you just reach out, and good leaders never say no. I can tell that for sure.
Okay, great. Since we have so many questions, I'm just going to be a little more selective and just pick. So, guys, don't mind if I've taken one question of yours or I'm not taking. It's nothing personal. It's just, in fact, Hema, I'll leave it to you now. Do you want to choose to answer
Oh
the
no,
question?
don't do that. That's going to
Okay.
be tough. What's the
Okay.
right way
Okay.
to?
So here's
I'm
another
going to
question.
leave Marutish's because I think we've addressed that. Scope and
Yes.
compensation, it's about impact, just demonstrate the right impact. And
Okay.
you think of the IPL game, then your construct around compensation will get settled. Who gets paid higher? It's not about seniority, it's not about just possessing the skills, but am I leaving an impact? And if you are a high impact player, people are willing to pay for you. Of course, the risks will be higher. Why HR doesn't like gaps on CVs? I don't think that's true. I've had gaps on my CV. I've had two gaps, both for my children, and I'm still here. So it's just about how well we explain the gaps, Vijay. Being true to the gaps. I mean, even if that gap is, I'm hoping not, but even if that gap is because you lost a job, it's okay to say that you lost the job. It's okay to admit to it, and you will find people coming by to you. I've had two gaps, by the way. I've had two maternal gaps that I've taken in my career.
If you could answer the whole question, ma'am, I will be really happy.
Why? No, really. It's just be honest and be truthful and say this is the reason I've had the gap. Sometimes that gap could be because you didn't like a certain culture of a company, and say it like it, that I didn't appreciate the culture that the company had, and I couldn't see myself succeed there. So I'm moving on. I moved on, and I found it difficult to find a job immediately thereafter, and so I have a gap. Or if it's a gap because you lost a job, you just say it, that I lost the job because I could have done better, but for various reasons, I probably didn't have the right focus in that job. And therefore, things didn't work out for me. But here I am, a fully redefined person. I'm willing to put my best here and then take on this next job that comes my way. Right? So it's about just staying authentic, staying true to yourself. The last thing any HR wants you to do is to try and hide it. That's a no. Please don't hide a job break, because then it'll come back in the form of a background verification. And that's when, it gets, hey, this person could have told this to us. Why did the person have to hide? So just be aware of that aspect.
My apologies. It's actually why HR doesn't like gaps on CV, multiple job changes, and returning to a segment post leaving it. So there are three questions in one. And ma'am, I have to be honest and upfront, whether I speak out the truth or I hide. The expression comes same from the HR, that it is not acceptable. So,
Well, I'm
ma'am,
speaking from organizations which I have been part of, Vijay. Now I know there are different organizations, different cultures, different formats of HR. I don't want to speak for them, but what I have seen is what I'm saying, telling you, that I personally have had gaps, and I'm still here in the industry. I have hired people who've had gaps, and they're all working fine, right? Some people don't, irrespective of the lessons that they have learned, they still don't learn the lesson. They still make the same. I'll give you an example. Um, Somebody who lost a job because he or she didn't do that job well. Maybe there was a lot of absenteeism, maybe explained absenteeism. And then when you still give them the job, they continue with that same behavioral pattern, right?
ma'am,
Then that's an
just
unacceptable thing.
sorry to cut you short, ma'am. Just in a what I'm trying to
Vijay,
ask is,
Vijay,
sir.
I think Vijay, can we just move on? We've asked a lot of questions. Give other people.
Sorry. Yes,
right?
sir. I'm just in the same thing. The third part was what was I'm trying to. Okay, madam. The thing is, I have
Vijay.
written to you. We can take it from
Vijay,
there.
I suggest you connect with her offline if you want.
Yeah, you can connect with me offline. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we'll just take just choose one last question. I know we've
Yeah, because he's on stage, let me take this question. For young AI practitioners who want to grow into leadership roles, what skills are more underestimated early in their careers? This answer, I don't know. What skills are more underestimated early in their careers? I don't think we underestimate anything. Which AI trends do you believe? Okay, let me reflect on the first question. For young AI practitioners who want to grow into leadership roles, what skills are, I think what is underestimated sometimes is their ability to take on leadership roles simply because ageism comes into picture. Large, probably matured organizations feel they are not yet ready. There are even leaders who feel, oh, the person is not yet ready. He needs some more time or she needs some more time. That comes in the way. While the individual themselves may feel, I'm ready to take on that role. Right. So that sometimes comes in the way. And I've seen it when I'm in discussions with leaders around their talent pipeline and high potential talent. Very often they say, oh, this individual is good, but not yet ready. So it's somewhere the ageism, somewhere the timeliness of or readiness, factor, the perception of readiness that comes in the way. So which AI trends do you believe are overhyped and which are quietly transforming enterprises? AI trends do you believe are overhyped is that there are jobs which can completely be replaced by AI. I think that's overhyped. My firm believer is AI can be a great enabler for us. It cannot completely replace us. It can take away parts of our job. It can be done parts of our job, but cannot take away the human out of the system, right? And AI trends which are quietly transforming enterprises. I think all those enabling AI, generative AI that's there, Divya, you look at how Copilot has eased out a lot of things for us. Um, uh, you know, uh, Today I know the entire branding systems, the creatives that are all that is AI, right? Emails, right? The processing, the invoice processing, jobs. So they are quietly transforming, which is all good things to happen to us. And then, of course, in massive high engineering organizations, much more is happening. So
Okay, great. I think we've done a lot. Thanks so much. I'd asked you for an hour, and I think we've almost gone on for an hour and a half. So thank you so much on behalf of everybody. I'd really like to thank you, Hema. And for those of you who have, loved this, I'm going to encourage you to come to our conference because Hema is going to be speaking there. So you can really catch up with her, and I hope to see all of you there. And thank you very much, Hema. Thank you really for a
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And I'm sure everybody, can you just show your love and affection in the chat, please? What do you think the session was? I can see great session, therapy, amazing insights. Yeah, yeah. And let's see some lovely emoticons here so that we can really thank us. So I guess you've heard all of it, Hema. Thank you so
thank you.
much.
Thank you for this opportunity, Mudit. Thank
Yeah,
you.
not at all. And we'll be in touch, and a lot of you can meet her at the conference. So see you there, guys, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you and goodbye. Take care.
Thank you.